The morning my father died, I was in the middle of closing our biggest acquisition deal of the year. My phone buzzed twice during the meeting, calls from my brother Michael that I silently declined, too focused on the negotiations to step away. It wasn't unusual for him to call multiple times when he wanted something. Patience had never been his strong suit. The third call came from St. Mary's Hospital. By then, it was too late. Ms. Alexandra Chen. The nurse's voice was gentle but clinical. I'm calling about your father, James Chen. There was a massive heart attack. We did everything we could, but... The rest of her words faded into a dull roar as my world tilted sideways. My father, the titan of Chen Industries, the man who seemed invincible even at 68, was gone. Just like that, in the middle of a regular Tuesday, while I was arguing about profit margins and market projections. I don't remember leaving the meeting or driving to the hospital. The next clear memory I have is standing in the hallway outside the cardiac unit, staring at my brother Michael's back as he spoke in hushed tones with our father's personal physician, Dr. Harrison. Even from behind, I could read the tension in Michael's shoulders, the way his hands kept clenching and unclenching at his sides. Ally, he turned at the sound of my heels on the linoleum, his face a mask of grief and something else I couldn't quite read. Where were you? I called twice. I was in the Miller acquisition meeting, I said, my voice sounding strange and distant to my own ears. I didn't know it was about Dad. Of course you were working, he scoffed, that familiar note of derision creeping into his tone. Always the perfect corporate princess, aren't you? Too busy to even answer your phone when your father is dying. The words hit like a physical blow. But I was too numb to argue. Michael had always been like this, quick to anger, quick to blame, especially when it came to me. As the older sibling and only son, he'd grown up expecting to inherit everything, to be our father's natural successor. Instead, Dad had made us co-CEOs 3 years ago, splitting the leadership of Chen Industries between us. Michael never forgave either of us for that decision. The next few days passed in a blur of funeral arrangements, press releases, and endless meetings with the board of directors. Chen Industries was a publicly traded company now, but the Chen family still held controlling interest. With Dad gone, questions about succession and leadership needed to be addressed quickly to maintain market stability. I threw myself into the work, finding comfort in spreadsheets and policy documents while Michael handled the more public aspects of our father's passing. He'd always been better at that part anyway. The handshakes, the sympathetic smiles, the quiet assertions that Chen Industries would remain strong and stable through this transition. It wasn't until a week after the funeral that I finally made it to Dad's house. I needed to start going through his personal effects, deciding what to keep and what to donate. The housekeeper, Mrs. Zhang, let me in with red-rimmed eyes. Mr. Michael was here yesterday, she told me, wringing her hands in her apron. He took some papers from your father's study, said it was important company business. Something about her tone made me pause. What kind of papers? I'm not sure, Miss Alexandra. He spent several hours in there, going through the filing cabinets. He seemed agitated. The study was Dad's sanctuary, a wood-paneled room that smelled of leather and his favorite cigars. I'd spent countless hours here as a child, sitting cross-legged on the floor while he worked at his massive mahogany desk, occasionally asking me questions about my day or helping me with my math homework. Now, standing in the doorway, I could see signs of Michael's searching. Cabinet drawers slightly ajar, papers not quite aligned, books askew on their shelves. Whatever he'd been looking for, he hadn't been careful about covering his tracks. I was about to leave when something caught my eye. A single sheet of paper that had slipped behind the desk, probably knocked loose during Michael's search. When I retrieved it, my heart nearly stopped. It was a letter from Zhang and Associates Family Law, dated 15 years ago. The first line made my blood run cold. Dear Mr. Chen, regarding your inquiry about the adoption records for Alexandra. I read the letter 3 times, my hands shaking more with each pass. This had to be some kind of mistake. I wasn't adopted. I was James Chen's daughter. Everyone always said I had his eyes, his smile, his drive for excellence. This couldn't be real. But there it was in black and white, discussing legal procedures and sealed records. And Michael had found it. The sound of the front door opening startled me out of my shock. Heavy footsteps in the hallway, Michael's distinctive stride. I quickly folded the letter and slipped it into my pocket, my mind racing. What are you doing here? He appeared in the doorway, his tone accusatory. The same thing you were doing yesterday, I replied, fighting to keep my voice steady. Going through Dad's things. Mrs. Zhang mentioned you were looking for some papers. Something flickered across his face. Triumph? Before he smoothed his expression. Just some old company documents, nothing important. But I knew my brother. The slight upturn at the corner of his mouth, the way he couldn't quite meet my eyes. He was lying, and now I knew why. The board meeting is tomorrow, he continued, casually leaning against the doorframe. You'll be there, of course. Of course, I said, already dreading what he might be planning. Wouldn't miss it. That night, I barely slept. The letter burned a hole in my bedside drawer as I tossed and turned, remembering 1,000 little moments from my childhood. The way Mom sometimes got quiet when people commented on how much I looked like Dad. The strange tension that would occasionally pass between my parents during conversations about family heritage. Mom had passed away 5 years ago after a long battle with cancer. I wished desperately that I could ask her about this, get the truth from her directly. But like so many other things, that opportunity was gone. At 3 a.m., I finally gave up on sleep and called the one person I knew would still be awake, Dr. Sarah Martinez, my best friend since college and now one of the city's top genetic researchers. I need a favor, I said as soon as she picked up, and I need it done before 9 a.m. The board meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. sharp. I arrived early, watching the members file in one by one. These were people I'd known for years, some since I was a child sitting in on meetings with my father. They nodded respectfully as they passed, offering quiet condolences. Michael arrived last, striding in with a thick manila envelope under his arm. He didn't look surprised to see me. If anything, his smile grew wider. Before we begin, he said once everyone was seated, I have an important announcement to make, one that will significantly impact the future leadership of Chen Industries. This was it. I gripped the arms of my chair, bracing myself for what was coming. As you all know, my father's wish was for his children to lead this company together. Michael began, his voice carrying that practiced sincerity he was so good at. However, I recently discovered something that changes everything. He pulled a document from his envelope. I recognized it as a copy of the letter I'd found. Alexandra Chen is not actually a Chen at all. She was adopted as an infant. The room erupted in murmurs. I could feel every eye turn to me, some with shock, others with pity. Michael wasn't done. Blood is thicker than water, sister, he said, emphasizing that last word with just enough doubt to make it sting. The Chen family built this company. Chen blood should lead it. I moved to have Alexandra removed from her position as co-CEO, effective immediately. I let the chaos swirl around me for a moment, waited for Michael's smile to reach its peak of triumph. Then I slowly opened my purse and withdrew my own envelope. You're right about one thing, Michael, I said, keeping my voice clear and steady just like Dad had taught me. Blood is thicker than water. The silence in the boardroom was absolute as I stood, smoothing down my charcoal gray blazer, the one Dad had given me for my last birthday. Before anyone votes on Michael's motion, I think we should review all the evidence, don't you? Michael's smile faltered slightly. The adoption papers speak for themselves, Alexandra. There's nothing else to discuss. Actually, I said, pulling out the first document from my envelope. There's quite a bit to discuss. Starting with these DNA test results completed just this morning. The color drained from Michael's face as I handed copies to each board member. As you can see, I had my DNA compared to samples from both our father and our mother, which were stored at St. Mary's Hospital. The results are quite interesting. I turned to face my brother directly. I am, without any doubt, James Chen's biological daughter. In fact, I share more genetic markers with him than you do, Michael. Would you like to explain that? He shot to his feet, sending his chair crashing backward. This is ridiculous. Those results are obviously fake. Dr. Sarah Martinez from the National Genetics Institute supervised the testing personally. I continued calmly. She's on standby to verify the results via video call if anyone has questions. But that's not even the most interesting part. I withdrew another document, this one yellowed with age. This is a letter from Mom to Dad, dated a year before I was born. I found it last night in Dad's safe deposit box. Would you like me to read it to everyone, Michael? Or would you prefer to tell them yourself about how Mom had an affair with her tennis instructor, while Dad was away on business trips? The boardroom erupted again, but I kept my eyes fixed on my brother. His face had gone from white to gray, his hands trembling as he gripped the edge of the table. "You're lying," he whispered, but there was no conviction in his voice. "Mom confessed everything to Dad before I was born," I said, my voice softening slightly. "They worked through it, decided to stay together. Dad raised you as his own, never treating you any differently. He loved you, Michael. We all did." "That's impossible," he stammered, but I could see the memories clicking into place. The subtle differences in his appearance from Dad's side of the family that everyone had always politely ignored. The way Mom would sometimes get teary-eyed when he won tennis tournaments in high school. Dad knew that blood wasn't what made a family, I continued, addressing the board now. He chose to keep this secret to protect both Michael and our mother's reputation. And he chose to make us co-CEOs because he believed in both of our abilities, regardless of biology. I placed my hand on the stack of documents in front of me. "I have no intention of using this information to challenge Michael's position in the company. That's not what Dad would have wanted. But I will not stand by and let him use false accusations to seize control." Mr. Thompson, the head of the board and Dad's oldest friend, cleared his throat. "I think we've heard enough. Michael, do you wish to withdraw your motion?" My brother stared at the DNA results in front of him, his whole world visibly crumbling. Slowly, he nodded. "Then this meeting is adjourned," Mr. Thompson announced. "Alexandra, Michael, please remain behind." The other board members filed out, some shooting sympathetic glances our way, others clearly trying to hide their fascination with this family drama. Once we were alone, Mr. Thompson sighed heavily. "James told me everything years ago," he'd admitted. "Made me promise to keep the papers safe, just in case something like this ever happened. I'm sorry I didn't step in sooner, but he wanted you both to work things out on your own." Michael had sunk back into his chair, head in his hands. "Why didn't he ever tell me?" "Because he didn't want you to feel any different," I said gently, sitting beside him. "You were his son, Michael. Biology didn't matter to him." "I've been so angry," he whispered, "so jealous of how he always praised you, how he trusted you with more responsibility. I thought he was choosing you over me because you were his real daughter." "He wasn't choosing anyone," I replied. "He was trying to prepare both of us to lead together. That's still what I want, if you're willing to try." Michael looked up at me, his eyes red-rimmed. "How can you even want to work with me after what I just tried to do?" "Because you're my brother," I said simply, "and Dad taught me that family is about more than blood." The weeks that followed weren't easy. Michael took a leave of absence to process everything, spending time with a therapist to work through his feelings of betrayal and identity crisis. I handled the day-to-day operations of Chen Industries alone, just as Dad had prepared me to do. 3 months later, Michael returned. He was different, humbler, more thoughtful. We had long conversations about our childhood, our parents, and the future of the company. Slowly, we began to rebuild not just our professional relationship, but our personal one as well. A year after Dad's death, we finally held the memorial service he had requested in his will, standing in his favorite garden at the Chen estate. Michael and I together unveiled a bronze plaque that would mark the entrance to the new James Chen Innovation Center at the company headquarters. The inscription read, "Family is not defined by blood, but by love, trust, and the legacy we choose to build together." As we stood there, shoulder to shoulder, I felt Dad's presence more strongly than ever. He had known this moment would come, and prepared for it, planned for it, even from beyond the grave. His final lesson to both of us wasn't about business strategy or market dynamics. It was about the true meaning of family. Michael squeezed my hand. "He would be proud of us," he said softly. "Both of us." I squeezed back, remembering all the moments that had led us here. The fights, the jealousy, the secrets, and finally, the truth that had set us all free. "Yes," I replied, watching the sunset paint the garden in shades of gold. He would. That evening, as I sat in Dad's study, now my study, I found myself opening his old leather journal. On the last page, in his precise handwriting, was a message I discovered shortly after the board meeting. "My dearest Alexandra and Michael, by the time you read this, the truth will have come out. I watched you both struggle with your place in this family, in this company, each believing the other was somehow more deserving. But you were both wrong. A family isn't built on DNA. It's built on love, on choices, on the thousand little moments that bind us together. Just as a company isn't built on titles or ownership percentages, but on vision, dedication, and trust. I chose to keep Michael's paternity a secret, not to deceive, but to protect. And I chose to make you co-CEOs not because of or in spite of biology, but because together, you are stronger than either of you are alone. Michael has your mother's passion, her ability to connect with people, her drive to prove herself. Alexandra, you have my analytical mind, my patience, my ability to see the longer game. Together you are everything I could have hoped for in my successors. Remember this, the strongest bridges are built not with a single beam, but with many working in harmony to support each other. Take care of each other, take care of our legacy, and know that I am proud of you both, my children, in every way that matters. All my love, Dad. I closed the journal, running my fingers over the worn leather cover. Outside my window, I could see the lights of the city sparkling like stars, the Chin Industries Tower standing tall among them. Tomorrow, Michael and I would begin planning the company's next expansion, working together as true partners for the first time. Dad was right. The strongest bridges are built with many beams, and sometimes the bridges we need to build most are the ones that span the distances between our hearts.